and their wealth, really, not their income, which is, I think, interesting. Taxing those assets, taxing on like trust funds, like assets, like fancy cars, fancy houses, stuff like that. That would be all very interesting if I'm understanding that right. I'm no economic expert, but wealth tax, again, definitely a very cool, interesting new concept that, again, as I said before, I think one of the main benefits is it squeezes the most out of the littlest amount of people, which is very, very nice. All right. Now we go to the House of Representatives, where New York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is raising a lot of eyebrows because she voted against a measure on Wednesday to fund and reopen the government, which would have ended the longest shutdown in history, because the bill included funding for ICE, the agency she campaigned to abolish in her 2018 campaign. Most of our votes are pretty straightforward, but today was a tough/nuanced call, she said. We didn't vote with the party because one of the spending bills included ICE funding, and our community felt strongly about not funding that. If you didn't know, she's from a strongly Latin American minority district, and as you can imagine, people there don't really feel comfortable around ICE. Here she is.
All right, so votes were just called. So we're walking to the House floor. I'm here with my legislative team. Here's Ariel and Dan. He's every billionaire is a policy failure on Twitter. So
yeah, that's her shouting at Dan, the policy director. Every billionaire is a policy failure. Follow him on Twitter if you're into that. If you're on Twitter, go check him out. What is it? What's his full name? I should give him a proper shout out. Dan Riffle, there he is. He also got a shout out on Shine Hannity last night. That's pretty cool for him. All right, so yeah, she's saying there that she actually stuck to her belief that ICE, an agency known for targeting undocumented immigrants with no criminal record for deportation, endangering their lives, assaulting people in custody, shouldn't receive another federal dollar. That's some pretty crazy stuff. I mean, ICE, the campaign and the reasoning for abolishing ICE is really not very widely known, but I think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has the perfect capability. I mean, if you've seen what she did with the 70% income tax, and other ideologies, she's put the Green New Deal on the map. She's put that 70% income tax. It's very easy. She could put abolish ICE on the map if she really kind of fully explains what's going on here. Assaulting people in custody shouldn't receive another federal dollar. That's what her idea there is, according to Splinter. After campaigning to abolish ICE, the Congresswoman's actions have been closely scrutinized. Earlier this month, writer Elizabeth King criticized Cortez for voting to fund and reopen DHS through February 8th, which House Democrats argued would give more time to debate solutions to President Trump's demand for a $5.7 billion wall. ICE falls under DHS, so the move irked some supporters who questioned why she would vote to fund that parent agency. And again, that is kind of the ICE ideology there, like a little bit of an ICE connection. But I think when you have a vote that directly funds ICE, it's a lot more easy to vote against, because when you're voting against funding DHS, you're voting against funding a lot of other very important things like the Office of Refugee Resettlement, all the other I think FEMA falls under DHS, but I'm not sure. And like terrorism prevention, things that are actually pretty important. Despite Ocasio-Cortez's vote, still it passed pretty easily because obviously Democratic controlled House, Democrats put the bill up, and that simple thing. So right, yeah, there's a strong methodology, strong reasoning for abolishing ICE. I'm not going to go into it now because we have a lot of other stories to get to. But if you're interested in learning more about that, I could obviously talk about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Look into it. There's a lot. If you're someone who's kind of on the fence about it, doesn't really understand why, but is open-minded about it, I highly recommend you check out. You do a little bit of a Google search, folks, and that would be very interesting. See what you come up with and what you think. Just check out some progressive writers like The Nation. Just Google what ICE has done. I think that would be very, very important. All right. We're going to move on to the layoffs now happening at the Huffington Post. It's another terrible week to work in media. after news hit yesterday that BuzzFeed, HuffPost, and Gannett would slash their workforces, all like local media companies if you don't know. The layoffs were underway this morning, and Huffington Post once again hailed as a new model for digital publishing. So still, even in the most promising digital media outlets, I mean, if you haven't been following this, it's okay, but it's just a lot of digital media outlets recently have been taking some major, major cuts. And that's why it's so important, again, if you work in a digital media organization, you got to really organize, you got to get your act together on that, because it's too hard not to. It's literally too hard not to. Brian Magers, a member of HuffPost's opinion desk, tweeted the entire section had been axed. Chloe Agel was another one of them laid off. A number of reporters as well, including Polk Award and winning investigative journalist Jason Shirkus, announced that he'd lost his job, as well as Laura Bassett, Jonathan Cohn, and Lauren Weber. So it's all very tough stuff. Nick Wing, Eleanor Goldberg, Andy McDonald's, Kenya Downs. So yeah, the only silver lining though is HuffPost unionized with the Writers Guild of America East in early 2017, and also was able to negotiate a decent severance package. That's why it's so important. Like it's hard for one group of people to stop the shift in trends of the market and in media, but if you have that organization, you have that safety net, it's so important. In a statement, union pointed out that HuffPost's parent company, Verizon, was making cuts despite receiving a massive tax break from the Trump administration, which is interesting. So, BuzzFeed, notoriously anti-union CEO Jonah Peretti, shout out to Libby Watson. We talked about that on our show with her, Libby Watson. We talked about that. At BuzzFeed, Jonah Peretti, Mr. Get Your BuzzFeed sweatshirts here, or get your emoji sweatshirts here. Jonah Peretti Wednesday night announced layoffs, promising that more information about the affected teams will come by Monday at the latest. The cuts will reportedly come from across the company, including its new division, and total around 250 staffers cut, 15% of the site's workforce. BuzzFeed, formerly one of the titans in digital media, and he starts the message as "Hello, BuzzFeeders." Oh my God! Like, just literally stop. Hopefully he's one of he's part of that 15%. That is a incredibly rough blow for BuzzFeed. They've done some good work. So it's tough to see those people go, but still, BuzzFeed, they can be annoying sometimes, honestly, but still, it's journalists get laid off. See them get laid off. It's really tough stuff in an era where we need as many journalists, especially in the local divisions, as possible. We need those people out there. All right, so approximately 215 people are going to be cut there. So meanwhile, Gannett, which is a newspaper conglomerate, which has been publicly floated as a potential buyer for GMG, which is Gizmodo Media Group over at Splinter, laid off journalists around the country on Wednesday, including a Pulitzer Prize winner, according to the Washington Post. As Pointer reported, the cuts were happening at least 10 Gannett-owned newsrooms. The cuts were not minor. 3 journalists were laid off at the Indy Star. Tennessean cut 3 positions, including high school sports reporter Mike Murphy, Tracy Bauer, executive editor of Low HUD in New York, Lower Hudson Valley. They do great work. Shout out to them. Let's give an air recording for Low HUD, baby. They're my local news agency. The latest bloodbath comes after Mike nearly axed its entire staff. I'm reading the name of the media group they got sold to. Bustle Digital Group. Jesus. His gambit. This is Brian Goldberg. Gambit. He wanted to buy the brand, the site, its social media, axe the existing staff. It was pretty much a flagrantly anti-union tactic. Said it voted to organize a year ago, but had not yet negotiated a contract. You need to do that as soon as possible, because right now no one is safe, especially when there is money for journalism. There is money, but with these conglomerates out there, especially gobbling up all these local media outlets, it's really, really tough. to make sure that money actually goes to the people doing the work. And so the boss is at the top. Again, organize, and obviously huge shout out to all those people who got laid off there. So that's obviously hopefully they'll land back on their feet and get a little bit, especially if you're working at Huffington Post, you get a little bit of a severance package. So that's cool stuff. They got a severance package there. All right. Yeah, so that's really rough news from the journalism world. Now we go to rough news from the weekend, where Savannah Guthrie's Today Show interview with Nick Sandmann, the Covington Catholic high school teenager at the center of Lincoln Memorial viral video, was pretty much about what you expect to be, which is to say it was another example of the world parting waters for this boy. Guthrie pointedly noted NBC News and spoke with Nathan Phillips, the man Sandman's kind of squared off and stared at with in the video multiple times previously. Phillips had appeared in a brief Tuesday segment at NBC Nightly News previewing her interview with Sandmann, but the network's defensiveness, as well as the Guthrie revelation that Phillips is expected to appear on Thursday, underscored the imbalance of the heart of the interview. 30 seconds of a nightly news segment is not the same as an exclusive morning show interview, and NBC really does know it. Would Phillips have been given the chance for his own Today Show chat if there not been such outcry about the Sandmann interview? It's a question. It's definitely a question. So here he is, on Today talking about his.
Sandmann says he didn't see other students performing what appears to be a tomahawk chop. There's something aggressive.
Yeah, but they were doing it like literally right behind you and all around you on video.
About standing there, standing your ground. You both stood your ground, and it was like a stare down. What do you think of?
I mean, honestly, I think if you look at the video, he was just kind of chilling out doing his drum, and he was. I think what Sandmann was there. I really don't want to hear the rest of this interview, but I'm pretty sure you don't really want to either. But you can if you want. You can look it up further. But the point is, I don't know why you would, but still, from what I can understand, what's happening here. So there was a confrontation between these black Israelites and these kind of like Kentucky kids out in the wilderness. They didn't really know how to handle it. They were like in the city for the first time, so they didn't know that like black Israelites, they're kind of a thing in big cities. I didn't know that, but yeah. So they kind of got a little fish out of water in that when the preachers started yelling at them over it, and then what happened there was the what's his name, Nathan Phillips saw a kind of confrontation brewing. He came in with the drum and sung a song that was meant to ease this confrontation, and then the boys, just kind of being really relatively uneducated people. I mean, I don't know if they were doing it. They're just like being like just dullards and like little MAGA piglets. They started doing the tomahawk chop and kind of mocking him and just staring down at him, like Sandmann stared down at him. And a bunch of people were just like, yeah, they were doing the tomahawk chop, imitating that kind of Indian chant, which was a little bit, more than a little bit. It was just incredibly uncomfortable. It's really odd. Very, like, I don't see how the fact that the presence of these black Israelite preachers kind of gives any justification for what Sandmann did and his actions, because the black preachers are not really in the video when the stare down's happening. And if the black preachers are attacking you, why do you go then start crowding all around this guy who's coming in to try to ease the conflict? So it's like it was a three-party thing, and somehow the MAGA kids got involved with both the two parties, managing to piss both of them off. So yeah, it's a really incredible feat there. So that is all very cool, but still, yeah. Another very interesting angle from this is a gay valedictorian at this school said he was not surprised by what was going on. So he said, what did he say? Gotta find the quote here from him about this. Here's what he said. Christian Bales, this is his name. He's valedictorian of the Holy Cross High School, one of the schools run by Kentucky Covington Diocese. Another one of their schools